Hey Internet, it's RJ, welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And on the docket for this week, we have two main stories. One comes from Wells Fargo, and the other is a continuation of our Apple, Goldman, Sachs inevitable split. So of course, we will break down both of those chapters tools down below, so you can skip to whichever one you want. But overall, I think they're both pretty interesting, so that is the plan for today. So of course, if you found that interesting, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, we will start with Wells Fargo. So, Wells Fargo, we've been talking off and on again for probably, a year and a half, maybe even 2 years about their revamp of their credit card lineup. First, it was the personal lineup. They were going to offer up, 4 or 5 new cards maybe, and some were going to be targeted at the ultra high end, and we didn't really know about the rest. Over time, we ended up with the Active Cash, Reflect, and the Autograph. And then the business side, maybe a month or two ago, they even took down all their existing business cards and put up a coming soon page. We found some trademarks for, I believe it's going to be the Signify line on business side. Well, earlier this week, maybe it was like Wednesday, I think Proud Money was the first one that I saw who had it. We found more trademark filings for 2 more credit card names for Wells Fargo. This one going to be, we'd have 2 again. They're going to be probably personal cards, Autograph Beyond and Autograph Journey. So again, trademarks generally don't mean anything. We've seen them trademark other names and they haven't come to fruition yet. But again, it does somewhat make sense to banks seem to like to put things under product families, like you have Freedom and Sapphire. The Amex line used to be their, charge cards, kind of made sense in the everyday and the cash line. So you get the point. So it does kind of fit. Plus the Autograph is a pretty good card. And so we're like, hey, cool, more speculation. But then the very next day, I think it was somewhere on Reddit, or I think I saw it on Dr. First, but on Wells Fargo's site, they had up the terms and conditions in the card member agreement, I believe, for a new Wells Fargo card. Now, this card isn't available for application yet, but is going to be the Autograph Journey card that we actually have some details on because of, I'll call this a leak or something. It might not even be there, but I do have the full links on ProfitableContent.com if you're interested, but we'll go through some of it. So here's what we have. Here's what we know about for the Autograph Journey card. So again, it'll have a $95 annual fee. Your multipliers are going to be 3 back on entertainment, 3 back on food and drink establishments, so dining, 3 back on fuel or charging stations, 3 back on telecom, which is basically your cell phone, and then 3 back on transport and travel. Benefits, it does have cell phone insurance. I think it's a little bit higher than the base Autograph card, and there are some travel insurances here as well. Again, I think they're a little bit better than the base Autograph card. And then in addition to that, since it is a new card, there will be an intro offer. Look, it's looking like 60,000 points with $4,000 in spend in the first few months. I think it's either 3 or 4 months overall. So again, not a bad card, but the interesting piece about this is that it's basically the Autograph card, but more expensive right now. Again, I think the insurances are a little bit better. I have the Autograph card myself, and I think it's a keeper, so it's a pretty good card. But at first pass, this doesn't really offer anything new. I mean, an intro offer, cool, but, what's the deal here? Well, if I had to speculate, I would think maybe the terms and conditions aren't fully fleshed out yet because, again, Wells Fargo was going to give us transfer partners, last month in November, and then they got pushed back to sometime in December. Hasn't happened yet. We're obviously in the early few days of December. So if I had to guess, I would say the differentiator of these cards would probably have to come down to something about how those transfer partners work. Does this card, do you need this one to get access to transfer partners? I don't know, because they originally gave the message to Autograph card holders that they were adding transfer partners, so I don't know if that would necessarily make sense to exclude it. Is it possible that they go with like a transfer bonus, like a Sapphire, similar to the Sapphire Preferred, 1.25 if you have this card and just 1 if you have the regular Autograph? We don't know, but that's the fun of speculation. But I would guess that has to be, there would have to be something like that, because if you look at it, why would I pay $95 for basically the same card? Yes, there's some better travel insurances, but it's not really what most people care about, even though people tend to say they care about it. I see the numbers on the videos. Videos about card benefits and insurance and network benefits do very, very poorly. videos about how to get maximum value do much, much better. So that would be my guess. I'd also be surprised we didn't see anything about like a priority pass, visits, or something like that in there. Again, I don't believe these links were supposed to be out there, so it's entirely possible what we're looking at is not the fully finished, signed off on product, although I do believe the core benefits of the card are probably what they're going to be. Again, I think you've been playing this long enough, you can see there needs to be some level of differentiator between the two, because if not, why not just go for the base autograph card? And as far as the other autograph card, again, we don't really know what that would entail. Do they also rebrand the active cash to be under the autograph line? I don't know. I don't necessarily think you need to do that, because again, it makes it very clear this one is cash back for people who aren't interested in points, even though right now, the Wells Fargo autograph card, you can cash out for statement credit, which is what I did with mine. Right now, the autograph card has a $300 promotional offer, which is the high one for that card. So, it's a good card. I don't have any links for it. It's just a good card if you're interested in a decent offer. So there is that. And a reminder, again, it's not out yet, but Wells Fargo intro rules are once every 6 months in between promotions. I put this to the test, and it is true. I think I got the autograph, as I mentioned, then I got a mailer for the active cash, and I said, what the heck? I read it. It didn't have any rules saying, hey, 6 months, so I gave it a shot, and sure enough, it was a denial. The denial letter said, you haven't had an account with us long enough. So they do factor that in, so I guess maybe if you're considering a Wells Fargo card now, I would still throw the Built Rewards card in that, since they are the issuer. Keep in mind what this card is potentially bringing, what we also have on the table right now. So that's what we know about Wells Fargo. I find this very interesting, so we will definitely keep an eye on it going into the rest of this year to close out, and of course next year. Now, other topic that is near and dear to my heart that I'd want to talk about is Apple and Goldman Sachs. So we've talked about this quite a bit. Goldman Sachs has made it no secret they do not make money on the Apple card or the savings account, and they want out of their partnership. Now, in somewhat fairness, they've been trying to wind down their regular people banking division is what I call it. For quite some time now, they have the GM portfolio. At one point, they had a checking account under Marcus. That's gone. I don't know what they're going to do with the Marcus savings account, but they've been trying to get out of that line of business. It just hasn't worked for them. Of course, the Apple card would be the crown jewel. Well, now it looks like Apple is going to oblige and release them from their contract. Now, the way this gets reported by various outlets, it's kind of like, oh, Apple's kicking Goldman Sachs out. Like, no. What I think has happened is, if I tell you 28 different ways that I want you out of my house and I don't like you anymore, eventually you're going to say, you know what, I need to find a plan, an exit strategy that's on my terms, and I think that's what Apple's doing, because they're not ending the partnership right away. I think it's about 12 to 15 months before it's fully wound down, which kind of tells us I don't think they necessarily know where they're moving or what their next move is. They've just their product team has identified this as a massive risk, and they want to make sure they're in control of transferring it out. Specifically, this came from the Wall Street Journal. I don't pay for the Wall Street Journal, so we have the excerpt from Mac Rumors, which is one of my favorite sites. And again, they do quote the 12 to 15 months to wind down the partnership. The quote, Apple and Goldman Sachs are focused on providing an incredible experience for our customers to help them lead healthier financial lives. The award-winning Apple Card has seen a great reception from consumers, and we will continue to innovate and deliver the best tools and services for them. That is from Apple. They probably won't do any of that right now while they look to find a new home, but what else are you going to say? So there you have it. They're officially coming to an end. I don't think it's nearly as shocking as, again, I go back to it. Some outlets use it for the headline, and, I try not to do the clickbait titles, but it'll probably be something Apple, Goldman Sachs finally breaking up. I think Goldman just complained long enough, and they want to be out. So we go back to, once again, where could they land? Synchrony Bank has been floated around. I don't know about that one. From a technical perspective, yes, Synchrony Bank could 100% do it. It's what they do. They're the biggest issuer of store cards. Do they think they're going to be issuing credit limits like crazy, like Apple does? Probably not. Or Apple wants their partner to do? Probably not. I still just think it'd be Apple, I will put it like this. Apple, to me, is a massive Apple fan. Like, everything on this desk is either Apple or, like, Logitech peripherals. But Apple is very, they're very vain. They're also a little bit hypocritical, so I want to see which one wins out. And by that I mean the hypocrisy from the standpoint of they brag about privacy, they hide behind privacy. But, if you read the Apple headlines, they're in the news because they're finally going to adopt a portion of an RCS standard, which is basically just an evolved version of SMS or MMS, right? Just a more secure version. I think it's got end-to-end encryption. They're not doing all of it, but the point is a company that brags about security and privacy would probably want to have that, and they don't for various reasons we don't really need to get into because that's not really why you're here. I mean, additionally, they claim to care over and over and over again about the environment. They brought out their head of whatever to walk through their solar panels at Apple Park and tell you about their environmental cause while they still continue to ship lightning cables when everyone else has USB-C cables, and they themselves put USB-C on their phone. So that's where the hypocrisy comes in at. So yes, I'm curious to see what wins out. Is it like their quest for money and dominating the partnership? Is it like, hey, we really want the customer benefit? It's probably going to be the money one, but it's always interesting to see, so that's kind of how I see it. Now back to the suitors. Again, I put American Express at a 0% chance. If you have the Apple Card, you should not want it to go to American Express. Number one, you have the issue with MasterCard. They're still under contract with MasterCard. Again, I'm sure they could get out of it. It's going to cost some money, but I'm sure they could. But American Express caps their 3% cards on some cards. The Apple Card's unlimited 3% on those core categories. American Express is very uptight. I just don't think they're going to do it. Synchrony Bank seems like a massive loss. It'd be an embarrassment thing. Again, back to the vanity of Apple. Many people think the Apple phones are more luxurious, and granted, I have one, but the Samsung flagships are often more feature-packed and more expensive between the folding phone, the massive Note phone, what have you. So it's not necessarily the case. It's just how they like to be perceived. So I'm sure they would prefer a fit like a partner brand like Amex over Synchrony. I still think it'd be Chase or Capital One. I think Capital One could do it. I think they're dropping Walmart. They're in a lawsuit over that, so this could be a nice replacement for them. I think Chase could accommodate all of their nonsensical requests. And granted, I think Apple's requests are pretty customer friendly. Again, hey, all statement cycles begin and end on the beginning of the month. They might get upset about having no fees and things like that. But I think the thing Apple would have to concede a little bit on is the cross-sell, right? Every co-branded non-travel card for Chase comes a 5x back to the travel portal. Instacart, Amazon, the other one, the DoorDash one. And that's part of the cross-sell. I still want to get you back into my things. So like, how much would Apple concede for that? I think they would do it. Would an Apple partnership with Chase upset Amazon? Do they care? I don't know. But Chase still did ratchet up their risk, I'll say, to satisfy Amazon and keep that portfolio. So I 100% think Chase could do it. I even think they'd be willing to accommodate a lot of the Apple nonsense because they can just simply absorb it and tolerate it from a size standpoint if they can make the cross-sell work. That's the thing that Chase, I think, does better than most people, is cross-selling products to you. So if they can make it work, then possibly. And again, I think Capital One could also do it. I think they're really good at writing subprime. It's what they do. But at the same time, I do think they're still trying to start to build out upstream. And again, my biggest complaint about Capital One has always been they allow their customers to outgrow them, and that's been the case until now they've had the Venture X. But they still struggle with, how do I approve people for the Venture X that I would normally deny because they have too good of credit? I mean, you know how Capital One works. So overall, I don't think this story, I think it's very interesting to see where it lands. It's very fun to talk about, obviously, and I hope you feel that way as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. But, I don't think it's that dramatic of a headline because, yes, Goldman Sachs has wanted out for quite some time, and, Apple, wants to be in control of that. The contract, I think, was supposed to go through 2029 or 2030, so, it's not unreasonable to say, fine, we'll get you out of here, but, it's going to be on our terms, and we're going to need at least 15 months to see what we need to do with the product. Where it lands, what it means for the card, I figure whoever takes it is probably going to have to refresh it in some degree, if nothing else, to get customers back interested again. Again, I think Chase would do that. I think Capital One, maybe. Synchrony, I think it would get worse. American Express, I think it would get worse. I just don't see it working at all. But again, Synchrony could do it, but I just don't think you want to land there. I mean, I guess they could go back to Barclays, but I the last thing I guess I'll say is, Apple, how much self-reflecting is Apple going to do? Because there was a bidding war for this card early on, and then there wasn't, and there still doesn't seem to be a clear front runner that's being reported now. And again, it reminds me a lot of the iPhone and Verizon days when Verizon's like, I'm the biggest telecom, I don't want you telling me how to sell phones, and Apple's like, they weren't the biggest yet, but Apple's Apple, and they're like, well, I don't want you telling me how to sell an iPhone. And they just went their separate ways, and they were fine for a long time. But when they eventually came together, the iPhone 4 was the best-selling phone ever at the time, and it wasn't because it was a revolutionary phone, it was because they brought it on Verizon, and that was a big carrier. I think this could go down like that to a degree, depending on how much Apple wants to reflect and change and tweak, And again, I don't think they're going to have that much power over massive banks. But again, I think we've talked about this quite enough. I could go on and on and on. So I'll hand it off to you. Apple Card users, let me know what you think. If you're a prospective Apple Card customer, let me know what you want to see as well in a revamped card. Love to get your thoughts on all of it. But that has been our major headlines for this week. So, of course, if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. So we're posting content just like this every single week and right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And, of course, every single day over on profitablecontent.com, the channel's blog, where we have the latest news stories just like this. We have bank promotions, and of course we have credit card offers. So if you're looking to swap out your Apple Card into something a bit more stable right now, we'll go ahead and have a look. We still have those Chase High offers, the Inc. 900s, and the Freedom Unlimited Double Cash offer as well. All great offers that at least, get you some mileage until Apple figures out what it's going to do. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon this week.